Have you ever heard an album that just felt like someone ripped pages right out of your own diary? Like, it captured feelings you hadn't even put words to yet.
Oh, definitely. That kind of raw, messy honesty
Yeah.
is powerful.
Yeah, it can take the most intensely personal stuff and somehow make it feel, well, universal.
It's pretty rare, isn't it, for music to cut through all the polish and just connect on that, fundamental, sometimes uncomfortable human level.
Especially when it's dealing with complex, difficult emotions.
Exactly.
And that's exactly what we're diving into today. We're doing a deep dive into an album that did just that for millions, Alanis Morissette's Jagged Little Pill.
Yes, a classic.
You've got the source material right here, the full lyrics and all the key info about its creation, its impact, and, well, its enduring legacy.
Okay, so our mission is to really unpack this landmark album, to understand that distinct sound, the aggressive honesty of the lyrics,
Right, how it explores relationships and internal struggles.
and ultimately why it resonated so deeply with you and so many people around the world. I mean, it became one of the best-selling albums of all time.
Absolutely. So let's figure out the crucial nuggets of insight we can pull from looking at these sources.
Sounds good. Where should we start? The context.
Let's jump right in, starting with how this album came to be and just how massive its impact was.
Okay, so Jagged Little Pill dropped on June 13th, 1995. But that date is more than just a release day. It signifies a major moment.
How so?
Well, this was Alanis Morissette's first album released worldwide, and it represented a huge shift.
A stylistic shift, you mean?
Yeah, totally. Her previous records had been more in the dance pop vein, especially in Canada.
Mm.
This was a full pivot to alternative rock, leaning heavily into post-grunge sounds.
A complete departure, really.
Yeah.
And our sources highlight that a lot of this transformation happened after she moved to Los Angeles.
Right, and connected with producer and songwriter Glenn Ballard.
Apparently, they had an instant connection. That's what the notes say.
That connection was key. They just started co-writing, experimenting together with different sounds. That experimentation is really what gives the album its unique sonic texture.
It wasn't just guitars, then.
No, not at all. They were incorporating keyboards, drum machines, even harmonica. You get the sense that while Alanis brought the raw, unfiltered angst,
Ballard helped shape it.
exactly, adding a pop sensibility that made that intensity incredibly accessible.
And Accessible doesn't even begin to cover the commercial success. This album wasn't just a hit, it was a global phenomenon.
Oh, completely. The source material lays it out: over 33 million copies sold worldwide.
Wow.
That puts it in some seriously rarefied air among the best-selling albums ever.
The certifications are kind of staggering when you look at them.
They really are. 10 times platinum in the UK. A staggering 17 times platinum in the US.
17 times.
And double diamond in Canada. She was the first Canadian artist ever to achieve that status in her home country. These numbers aren't just sales figures.
No, they represent a cultural moment, right? A massive connection with the audience.
Precisely.
It's clear the audience connected, and the critics mostly did too. Reviews were largely glowing, praising everything from the musicianship to the vocals.
But especially the lyrics. They really stood out.
And then came the Grammys.
Oh, the Grammys. 9 nominations, 5 wins. That's a huge haul.
5 wins, including the big one, Album of the Year.
And our sources note she was the youngest artist ever to win that award at the time.
Incredible. Plus, Best Rock Album, and for the breakout single You Oughta Know.
She took home Best Female Rock Vocal Performance and Best Rock Song.
Right. There was even a win for Best Long-Form Music Video. It just swept through.
It's an album that felt important right away, and that sense has only grown over time. You see it constantly appearing on all-time lists.
Yeah, places like Apple Music, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Rolling Stone.
It has absolutely cemented its place in music history.
So that's the external story. The musical shift, the incredible sales, the critical acclaim. But the really compelling part, I think, is the internal world of the lyrics.
Yeah, let's get into that.
How did these songs, which are so deeply, sometimes brutally personal, manage to connect with so many people? Let's dive into some of the key themes that jump out from the lyrics you've given us.
This is where the album's heart is, that raw honesty you mentioned earlier. Let's start with You Oughta Know.
Okay, the big one.
This is arguably the song that broke everything wide open. The tone is just so raw, so confessional, almost uncomfortably detailed about a breakup and feeling replaced.
It's visceral, isn't it? Lines like wishing nothing but the best, but immediately following with those biting questions about the new person.
Asking if she's Perverted like me.
If she'd go down on you in a theater or if she'd have your baby, there is absolutely no filter there.
None at all. It captures that specific sting of being quickly discarded and the residual anger and pain, leaving a mess, as the lyric says.
Mm-hmm. This track really embodies that theme of raw aggression and unfiltered emotion that I think surprised a lot of people at the time.
Definitely. Building on that emotional intensity, but shifting the focus slightly, you have a song like Perfect.
Right. This one really digs into the theme of external pressure and expectation.
Yes. The lyrics paint a clear picture of someone being constantly told to measure up, to win first place, to keep that smile on your face.
Presumably by parents or, figures of authority.
Yeah, and the language is so conditional. How long before you screw it up? That simply wasn't good enough.
Oof. And that incredibly poignant line about living through someone else. I'll live through you. I'll make you what I never was.
It highlights a love or acceptance that feels entirely conditional. We'll love you just the way you are if you're perfect.
Yeah.
It's such a heavy burden.
So you have this raw anger and this intense external pressure. But what's interesting is the album also finds a way to embrace complexity and contradiction.
Yeah, particularly in Hand in My Pocket.
This song feels like a breath of fresh air amidst some of the heavier themes, but it's complex in its own way.
It is. It's just this list of these seemingly contradictory states. Broke, but I'm happy. I'm poor, but I'm kind.
Drunk, but I'm sober. Sad, but I'm laughing.
It's like acknowledging the messiness of being human, you know?
And the core message threaded throughout is this comforting, almost reassuring refrain that everything's going to be fine, despite all these internal paradoxes.
And the most relatable line for so many, I think, is the admission, I haven't got it all figured out just yet.
Right. And then broadening it. No one's really got it figured out just yet.
It's such a powerful message of acceptance, of imperfection, of not having all the answers. That resonates deeply.
Speaking of figuring things out, or maybe not figuring things out for someone else, the theme of boundaries and self-preservation comes through so strongly in Not the Doctor.
Oh, yeah. This song is just a series of absolute firm declarations about what the narrator's not going to be for someone else.
Someone who isn't taking responsibility for their own issues.
Exactly. The language is so direct. I am not the filler if the void is solely yours.
I am not your glass of single malt whiskey.
I am not a bandage. I am not your babysitter mother. And the really stark one, I am not the glue that holds your pieces together.
Wow. It's a refusal to be someone's savior or solution, isn't it?
Totally. The metaphor of visiting hours is particularly striking. It sets a clear limit on emotional availability and labor. It's a powerful statement of self-protection.
That's such a clear articulation of setting boundaries. And maybe on the other end of the spectrum from that proactive stance, you also see passive behavior explored in Wake Up.
Right. The lyrics in Wake Up give examples of reluctance to engage and apathy or unwillingness to dive deep into things.
Like liking snow, but only if it's warm, rain, but only if it's dry.
Yeah, a sense that it's just easy not to.
And the line, what goes around never comes around to you, implies a detachment, maybe? A lack of consequences or real involvement in life cycles?
It seems that way. But then the song ends with that urgent call to action. Get up, get up, get up off of it, wake up.
So it shifts from observation to exaltation.
Yeah, it does.
Beyond the interpersonal and internal, the album also touches on deeper, perhaps, spiritual wrestling, which you see in Forgiven.
This track has those specific, very personal references to a Catholic upbringing.
Right, Catholic girls, confessing darkest deeds to an envious man.
It's grappling with faith, doctrine, and doubt. In the name of the Father, the skeptic, and the Son. That's a powerful twist on a traditional phrase.
It really is. There's questioning, but also maybe a sense of returning to belief after having rejected what was learned. What I learned I rejected, but I believe again.
And seeking absolution or understanding, if I jump in this fountain, will I be forgiven? It's complex territory.
All these difficult experiences, all this wrestling, the anger, the pressure, the contradictions, the struggles with others. With faith, they really build towards a central theme about how we learn and grow.
Which is captured perfectly in the song You Learn.
Exactly. The song is essentially saying that real growth, real learning doesn't come from comfort or ease.
No, it comes from difficult, messy, sometimes painful experiences. The lyrics give very specific examples. Getting your heart trampled on, sticking your foot in your mouth.
And those active, almost violent verbs associated with learning. Cry, you learn. Lose, you learn. Bleed, you learn. Scream, you learn.
It's not gentle learning.
Yeah.
It's hard won.
And this is actually where the album gets its name. I didn't realize this until looking closely at the lyrics.
Oh, right. The first verse contains the line, "Swallow it down, what a jagged little pill."
The title Jagged Little Pill comes directly from this idea that life presents you with these difficult, sometimes painful experiences that you just have to process.
Have to swallow down
Yeah.
in order to learn and grow. It's a perfect encapsulation of the album's core message.
Wow, I love how that line about swallowing the difficult experience directly names the album. It really ties that central theme of learning through pain right to the title.
It does, doesn't it?
Now, amidst all this angst and difficulty, it's worth noting the album isn't relentless. There are moments of something different.
Yeah, like finding a healthy connection in Head Over Feet.
Right. It absolutely contrasts with some of the other songs. It's about that feeling of being unexpectedly won over by someone who is genuinely kind and treats you well.
Finding a best listener who feels like a best friend with benefits, as the lyrics say.
And it describes that feeling of finally being in a relationship that feels healthy. It's a quieter, more tender moment on the album.
Showing that growth can also lead to positive connection. It's not all struggle.
And then there's Mary Jane, which shifts the focus away from the narrator's own struggles.
To observing the pain in someone else, offering an empathetic perspective.
It describes seeing someone struggling, had a hard day, losing weight, going full speed baby in the wrong direction.
And the lyrics offer that encouragement to be selfish for once, to don't censor your tears.
It's an expression of care, isn't it? Urging someone who is clearly hurting to prioritize their own well-being, allowing themselves to feel and heal. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground, but we can't talk about this album without mentioning the song that probably generated the most discussion, maybe even debate. Ironic.
Ah, yes, the classic, is it really ironic debate. Always comes up.
Always. The song presents this list of situations. An old man wins the lottery and dies the next day.
A black fly in your Chardonnay. A death row pardon arriving too late.
Rain on your wedding day, a free ride you've already paid for, a traffic jam when you're already late.
A no smoking sign on your smoke break.
Yeah.
Spoons when all you need is a knife.
Meeting the man of your dreams, and then meeting his wife.
And as many have pointed out over the years, a lot of these examples are, in the strictest sense, more misfortune or bad timing rather than true situational or verbal irony.
Right, technically speaking. But the song Undeniable captured a very relatable feeling.
Oh, absolutely. That feeling that life has a frustrating, sometimes darkly humorous way of surprising you, of things just not going according to plan in unexpected ways.
The feeling resonated, even if the examples weren't always textbook irony, people got it.
It taps into that universal experience of life throwing curveballs, often when you least expect it. It fits within the album's broader theme of navigating life's challenges, even if this one is presented with a slightly different lens.
Yeah, it does. And the album's life didn't end with the initial release, did it? Jagged Little Pill has had a significant continued legacy.
It really has. There was that very successful acoustic re-recording released for its 10th anniversary.
Right, offering a different take on the songs.
And deluxe editions came out for the 20th and 25th anniversaries, keeping it in people's minds, bringing it to new audiences.
And perhaps most notably, it inspired a stage musical adaptation.
That's right. It premiered and then transferred to Broadway, receiving, 15 Tony nominations.
15. That really speaks to how powerfully the album's themes and characters translated to a completely different medium.
There was even a planned 25th anniversary tour that got postponed, unfortunately.
But the fact that it continues to inspire new creative works decades later really underscores its cultural significance.
No doubt about it.
So, pulling back from this deep dive, the key takeaways seem clear. Jagged Little Pill was a massive cultural and commercial phenomenon.
Definitely.
Not just because of a catchy sound, but because of its raw, unflinching, emotional honesty.
It marked a huge stylistic shift for Alanis Morissette, and its success was propelled by its incredibly relatable exploration of difficult themes.
Like anger, pressure, learning through pain, setting boundaries, navigating messy relationships.
It just captured a specific feeling of angst, vulnerability, and the messy reality of life that resonated globally.
It really gave voice to feelings many people experience but perhaps hadn't heard articulated so directly, especially by a young woman in mainstream music at the time.
It felt authentic. That's the key word, I think.
And that authenticity brings us to a final thought for you, the listener, to consider, drawing solely from the source material we've explored today. Thinking about the specific examples from ironic, the misfortunes, the unexpected twist, and connecting that to the idea from you learn about swallowing down that jagged little pill that life presents. How does the album, through its lyrics and themes, reflect the fundamental ways life often surprises you or presents challenges you simply have to process and move through, even when they don't fit neatly into a category or aren't easily understood?